Welcome in to the D2 Baseball Podcast. He is Robert Fry. I'm Will Connerly. But more importantly, we're joined alongside Tom Riley today. If you don't know Tom Riley, well, you're going to get to learn about what he does with this Goldey-Beacom program that is just really the hottest team in the country right now. 15 consecutive wins. They're 22-6. They have entered our national polls this week. We'll get into more of that maybe later on. But we're going to talk all about Goldey-Beacom today, Coach. Thanks for joining us. Tell us about this stretch that you guys are on. You guys have caught fire, a 12-0 start in conference play.
Yeah, thanks, Will. It's I don't know if it's catching fire or just guys doing. We have a pretty gritty team that's just each game we're handling it like it's that next game, and we hand out a shirt for every win that we have. We've done that for the last couple of years, and it's because it's really about that next one. And everybody we're not crazy. We realize we've pulled off a lot of wins in a row, but honestly, the only thing that we're thinking about is number 16 right now. Or really to us number 23, because it's just that next win. We got that next game mentality, that next at-bat mentality. And we've got a lot of guys that are just, they pull for one another. We've won in a lot of different ways. So, our staff knows that, the guys are going to be behind the pitching staff. The hitters know that the pitchers are going to try to fill up the zone for them. And, one day it's about the pitching, the next day it's about the offense. So, it's one of those things where, it is a lot of fun, but, we're not trying to get too far ahead of ourselves.
And Coach, talk a little bit about, so you play against a really good Millersville team. You ultimately get swept, but then you rattle off 17 your last 18. After that series, did you change in any type of tone or what you told the team, going forward into the, I guess now the stretch that you're on?
No, I don't think we changed too much. I think that we'd kind of been inconsistent at the start of the year, and we won some games that we didn't think we played well in. And, we played really well early, like against a Frostburg team that was one of the best teams we've played all year. So we felt really good there. And then, Millersville's such a great program, and we play them every year. And, we didn't play very well. And when you don't play well and the other team is as good as they are, they're going to take it to you. And it wasn't like, guys weren't worried about it. They know that what we've done, and, we've won a lot of games here, and, you lose some games. So we just, just continue to do what we were doing. And I think that we played Deauville the next weekend that we also knew was a really good team because we played them the year before. And it's like, hey, they're a regional game. So, we just got to come out and, and have a good weekend. And I think we did. We ended up, I think, taking 3 of 4 that weekend. And we have our best hitter at the plate, trying to walk that game off in the one we lost. So I don't think we've done anything differently. I just think that the outcome's gotten better because, our focus is getting a little bit better each day, and I think we're a little bit better than we were 3 weeks ago.
And Coach, speaking of getting better, that's really what you've done with this program since taking over in 2016-17, now in your 9th season. I found it interesting reading that you inherited just an office and a field, and now you've built this program up to the point where they're in the national conversations. You guys get 34 wins last year, 37 the year before that. But that's not always how it started. How did you build this program up, and what's the story behind that? What are some of the key things that you've tried to prioritize to get this program to the top of the conference and just in the national conversation?
Yeah, we were crazy enough at the start to think that this was how it was going to go. And honestly, when I was talking to kids when we recruited, there was no program here, so we started it. And we talked about going to Cary, and we talked about it with like the first group of kids, and obviously we haven't been there yet, but that first group, those freshmen, those guys did go to a regional before they graduated. And that's really where, Matt Traits, our associate head coach and recruiting coordinator, and he was hired before we had a team as well. So, we really built that first roster together. Mike Payton, who runs our defense, has been here with us 8 out of those 9 years. So we've had a lot of staff continuity. But this is where we thought we could be. I think we have a great school. We're in a great recruiting area. I mean, if you draw a 2-hour radius around Wilmington, Delaware, I mean, we've got South Jersey, we've got, Eastern Pennsylvania, Central Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware. Just a lot of kids that, I think fit what we look for in like a tough blue collar player that's looking to get better. So I don't think our first couple teams were that bad. I just think it took us a while to get enough depth on the mound. We could swing it a little bit early. We built it with like kind of half JUCO, half freshman, and let those guys build it. And I think in year 3, we made a decision that probably really hurt us in year 3, but I think helped us in the long run, that we didn't go heavy after transfers when those first transfers graduated. We had it where we had those juniors that were with us, and then we brought in a really good freshman class. Some guys like Marshall Autry, who was a conference player of the year, Mason Maxwell, those guys that Garrett Musey that kind of led us to that first regional, and those guys took their lumps, but and it was just like, hey, and then from then on, it's been, fill in with needs. And then, and the guys believe when they come here, they're not coming here to, just go and take part in everything. They're going to go try to take it. They expect to be in a regional. The guys that are juniors right now don't know what it's like to not be. Now, we still have another step to take. We're always in that conversation, but when we get there, we're gonna have to play a little bit better and be a little bit deeper. And I think this team is a little bit grittier. So hopefully that'll pay off for us.
And speaking of a player that's taking a step up, we got to talk about the team's leading hitter in Anthony Charles. Started off now as a junior, as you mentioned, a freshman, he had limited at-bats. Sophomore year really took a big jump. And now his junior year, he essentially is replicating his sophomore year in half the games. Talk a little bit about his impact, with his 341 average, 28 stolen bases, and already matched his home run total from a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, he's a special talent. I just, it's just one of those things where he's just continued to get better. But, the kid can really, really hit. I mean, he has all the tools that you're looking for. I mean, he's a left-handed hitter he's got good bat to ball, and he sees the strike zone well, and the power to go with it. And he can he can do a lot on the bases because he runs well. So he's a pretty complete hitter. And I think last year he showed his ability, and this year he's a little bit more complete, and I think a little bit more confident. Anthony Charles he can definitely swing the bat, that's for sure.
And doing a lot on the bases is just a motif for this team. I mean, 108 stolen bases. You're 5th in the country in stolen bases per game. And that's kind of been, I mean, you look at just the numbers, at least we have over the years, that's kind of been a staple for Goldey-Beacom, is that you guys get on and you use any way to get to first, to get to second, and get to third. I mean, to have over 108 stolen bases and Anthony Charles 28 to 30, I mean, you've got a lot of guys that are dangerous. I wonder who coaches the base running, and is that something that you guys always implement early on when you recruit? Is that something you do in the fall to say, hey, we're going to be aggressive? I'd love to get into it because you're doing it at such a successful level. You're not even getting caught that much for how much you guys swipe.
Yeah, it's the fun of what we're doing around here is if we never really do things the same 2 years in a row. There's definitely a structure there, and I think that if you go back to when we really started getting after it, stealing back bases, and I think those original teams we wanted to, but we were just behind, and we didn't quite have the athletes that could do things at times. We were a little bit more station to station, bigger guys. But I dove into base running really big and did a lot with it 4 or 5 years ago. And then that kind of got us going a little bit. But since we've been really good at it, like I haven't had anything to do with it. Matt Trait, Mike Payton coach those base runners. And yeah, we try to slow it down in the fall and break things down. And we try not to take too much time without going over base running. Cause I think that to me, that's a big part of the game that gets overlooked. And if you look at the way we were playing early, I think that we made some outs on the bases that I thought weren't good base running, and comes to bite you. But like, we value that next 90 feet. And I think what has been good, it's not as much as the stolen bases, it's being able to take that extra base, knowing when the right time to take that extra base and when the time is to, sometimes you just got to shut it down and let that guy hit because you've done the job, because the other team's so worried about you stealing the base that they're going to keep you close. And if they keep you close, we're just going to, we can go hit, and now we'll open up some more holes. So Matt Trait and Mike Payton have done such a good job with it. And, our guys know that, we want that 90 feet, and we've got different ways that we can go about it. But, it's important to us. It's 90 feet means a lot, especially in the Northeast, because I think that in past teams, if we look at the regional last year, and I know we stole a bunch of bases last year too, but a couple of those games, I thought we swung the bat really well, and wind was blowing in, and those balls are outs, and that's not an excuse for why you lose. You got to find a different way. So if the wind's blowing in, we want to be the team that still goes out and scores 7-8 runs, and if the wind's blowing out, we want to be the team that goes out and scores a bunch of runs. So you don't really control that weather part of it. So we just want to be able to win in multiple facets, whether it's by the long ball or the stolen base or dirt ball read and just grinding out at bats.
And speaking of a guy that grinds out at bats, and definitely one of the leaders on this team, is the reigning CACC Player of the Year, and Braden Coleman'sberger. Now he's starting to find his stride here, especially lately. Talk a little bit about his impact as a leader for this team.
Yeah, BK is his impact is huge. He's one of those guys that he's been here with us for 4 years. Started his freshman year. I think it was all conference at second base, and then moved to shortstop after that. And it's just been as steady as they come. One of those guys that plays best in the biggest games and the biggest spots. And he's got that something about him where he's just, he's very relaxed and very cool. But like, he's not full of himself. He knows how good he is, but at the same time, he's just one of the guys. And him being one of the guys, and not being that loud, rambunctious type of leader, guys are willing to follow that guy when he tells you, hey, this is how we got to do something, because he's not full of it. He's doing those same things. So, he's starting to get it going. We're definitely better when he's got it going. He's and I actually think that, he's swinging it right now a little bit better than what his numbers say they do, because, we're really, just focused on finding barrel.
Yeah, and for him, he's a guy who's been around the program. We mentioned player of the year, probably did the most impressive thing on a baseball field last year of anyone in the country when I think it was 28 consecutive games he had a hit and he hit like 500 during that stretch. And you've got a couple guys like you said, his numbers, maybe that's a positive sign that you've been able to win at such a high clip without him needing to hit 450 and he can do that. Another guy as well, Christian Petrillo, is that how you say his name?
Petrillo.
Yeah. I know he's been with the program for a while, senior, and he's one of the best you guys have stolen bases, hit 335, I think his first year with the program. And another guy that seems just from the outside looking in that same leadership concept, just because of how long he's been here and how consistent he's been able to play for you guys. What is his makeup like in terms of leadership in the locker room and just how he's kind of a leader for you guys on the stolen base front as well?
Yeah. We call him Chich. So like, that's what I'll say when I talk about him, but yeah, Chich is just dynamic. He does everything 1,000 miles an hour. And like, there's never a play that he ever takes off. And that's one of those things where it's just like, it's tough to go halfway at something when you see what Chich does and he puts his body through. And you're right. Like, his numbers don't say what they did before, but if you look at it, he's only punched out 3 times this year. You know, he's finding he's getting some bad luck, but you know, you just continue to find the barrel and things fall. And then to me, one of the best things about Chich is the defense he plays. I mean, we run him out in center field, and it's one of the things when you look at our stats, you can't really see. You just see, he catches the ball. But there's those plays. I mean, you see them every game where, you know, here's a ball hit and people think it's going to be just dumping over the infield, and it's not, because he just gets such a good read on things and he can really move. You know, our outfield defense is something that I thought it has been a big change in our program, because, you know, early on we're just like, all right, well, let's have a guy that can run a little bit in center and a couple of guys that can rake in the corners. And now we've got, you know, we're going to try to throw 3 guys out there that can play center field. I mean, you know, and we probably have 4, you know, Mitch Jolico, Matt Benner, Anthony Charles, all cover a lot of ground out there. But like Petrillo and Benner, just elite level defenders. And that's kind of what they bring to it. I mean, they take pride in playing the outfield. So, you know, our pitchers know that, you know, you keep that ball in the yard and it's up in the air, you know, we're going to run that thing down.
And Coach, I know you mentioned pitchers, and before I get into some of the named pitchers, I want to ask you about, now with your experience in the league, you know, how do you handle to manage a typical 6-game week with your pitching staff, with a midweek doubleheader, and then you're typically playing 4 on a weekend? How do you handle, you know, logging all those innings in a given week?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I like it. Because I think that the more you play, the better team's going to come out and win. And everybody has a couple guys that are just guys, and they can go stand on their head for 7 innings. But having to play 9-inning games and having to play all week long forces everybody to get into their bullpens. And that's what we've tried to do. We've tried to build, depth through the mound. So, we personally, we don't run guys back out twice in the week that start, for the most part. I mean, it would be very rare for sorry about that. So it like, when we're gonna have a guy, it's like when Nate Miller goes on Saturday, he's gonna go again next Saturday. Even if we played Thursday, I mean, we might bring guys back and one day early, but not often. So we're going to go and start 6 different guys. Even this week, when we weren't quite sure yet who the 6th one was going to be, I kind of went with TBD to end the weekend, because we've got a bunch of guys that can do it, but it kind of depended on the situations in the game on who we used out of the bullpen. And we ended up going with Ryan Pozo, who had done it before. My thought is we just want a lot of depth, and we want to continue to try to go with this guy to the next guy. I mean, we closed the game out on Saturday with Wyatt Atkinson as a senior that had started games for us in past years. And then the next day we go with the guy that everybody would consider our closer, Gage Bendix. It's like, okay, well, that was Wyatt's day. We thought we liked the matchup there. And the next day it's Gage's day because we like the matchup there. So, hopefully what that does is at the end of the year, we got a bunch of healthy arms and we continue to get stronger as opposed to, wearing guys down.
Yeah, and just in the complexion of the East region, and I know you mentioned earlier not getting ahead of yourself, but just when we look at it, Malloy always has a couple of frontline guys. Post, same thing, of course, you guys. And then we always, when you talk about the East region, you talk about the team that's won it every year, the last half decade, Southern New Hampshire, same thing. So is developing a pitching staff that has the makeup to be able to win in a regional like that something that you focus on in your recruiting? And you bring up Gage Bendix. I mean, he's just been unbelievable to start this season. I know he had a couple of saves last year, but hasn't even surrendered a run yet. And he's got 4 saves and 9 appearances, no earned runs, that is. He looks like he's doing a really good job in that closer role for you guys right now. So I know that's a double-barrel question just about the East region and pitching in general, but is that something when you try to develop your pitching staff that you're focused on? Just because it seems like the East, opposed to maybe other regions, South Central, is so heavy on you've got to have pitchers, because you look at the scores in the regional and a lot of them are shutouts for the wins.
Yeah. I mean, we were a big part of that last year when Nate Miller threw a shutout for us, and then we went out and got shut out the other games. So, we definitely contributed to that. And I don't know if Malloy surrendered a run last year during our regional. Their pitchers were great. I think that you got to pitch in this region, and each year I think we've got better starters and a little bit more depth for it, and and I think the bullpen's important as well. So. Yeah, you got to pitch. I don't really think that there's anything that you can neglect and go to where we want to go. Southern New Hampshire always has some guys. Malloy always has some guys, and they play great defense there. In our conference, like I said, Post always has some arms. So does Jefferson. So does Wilmington. It's one of those things where, you got to match those guys, and then, and our hitters have to, like we said, we want guys to grind out at bats and just stack up good at bats one on top of the other. And when things like that happen, good things should happen for you.
And another guy like the highlight coach is someone who has a lot of relief experience, and especially this year, you started off with him in relief and now has been a very bright spot in your rotation. Talk a little bit about the transition from a reliever to starter that Mikey Hallbaker has made.
Yeah. I mean, Mikey is really, really special guy, and that he was last year in our bullpen. I felt like it was Gage Bendix and Mikey were our 2 guys out of the bullpen, and they both they're not traditional in that it's 1 inning guys. Like Mike could go out there for 1 inning, but Mikey could go out there for multiple innings. And he came back this year, and the fall that he had, I was like, man, this guy might be the best pitcher on our team. So he's going to earn the right to start. And the only reason he didn't start in weekend 1 is because we got one of those games canceled. We only played 3, so he came out of the pen in that one. But then, what you're getting from Mikey. I mean, there's not a more consistent guy out there. And, does he have I don't know that he has the best stuff on our team, but I tell you what, like, he has some pretty good stuff. And the ball moves a lot. He throws the ball where he wants to. I've been dealing with the pitchers this year, and I mean, he's one of the easiest guys to coach because he could communicate really well with the dugout between innings. I know what's working and what's not working because he communicates really well. He's done a great job. I mean, and he is awesome kid that is, the long college baseball career, one of those, junior college COVID guys that I think he was at his junior college for like 4 years, and now he's been 2 years here. So he's one of those guys that has definitely used the COVID thing to his advantage, but just an awesome guy, a great leader on our staff. And I mean, just when he's pitching, you see how much guys pull for him. And I mean, the catchers love catching him.
And one theme, at least earlier, when we talk about all the guys in this region, whether it's Kiss and Gutierrez at Malloy or Trampor and Lendrum, one thing that I think is those guys are very experienced, a lot of seniors. And one guy that looks like he's going to be a guy for you for a long time is George Starr. I mean, because typically you don't have a freshman cracker rotation. It happens. But to crack a rotation, to stay in it and to throw strikes at the level he has been the thing for me. I know going 6 innings against Millersville was really impressive, and he's gone 6 innings in 4 consecutive starts, and now he's starting to throw the ball really well. And just looking at his walk numbers, I mean, he's only walked 9 guys in 33 2/3. Like, this freshman looks really composed when I've been able to watch him on the mound. Is that something that gets you really excited about his ability to develop confidence, to throw him out every weekend, and he's eating innings for you just as his first year in college baseball?
Yeah, I mean, Georgie's special. I really wanted, when we recruited Georgie, I mean, we actually recruiting so much different now, where we got a lot online, a lot not. Georgie, we recruited the old-fashioned way, where I think we saw him pitch like 5 or 6 of his high school games, and you just saw what a competitor he was. And I mean, if you looked at his senior year of high school, I think he had walked 2 guys through 40 innings last year. So he's a guy that is relentless in the strike zone. We really wanted him to kind of take the path that Nate Miller did, where, hey, you're going to come out of the bullpen as a freshman and get your feet wet, but Georgie wouldn't have that by pitching so well. It's like, well, just because we thought it would be a good idea to come out of the pen as a freshman, well, we're not going to have you come out of the pen when you're one of our best guys. So he's a competitor. Like, he is, he's got that it thing about him, and he doesn't back down from anybody. I think he's one of those guys that, as the season goes on, is just going to continue to get better, because we're going to continue to play bigger and bigger games, and that's kind of what that kid lives for. I mean, he's from a small town in South Jersey that their high school baseball games are like high school football games, where the whole town's there, and it's just it just matters so much for him. And really excited about the stuff that he has, and and I think he's a great fit here for us.
And Coach, final question I have for you. I know you have Bloomfield tomorrow, so obviously we don't want to discredit that, but you have a big weekend series against Jefferson, a team that you've, especially the last few years, have been battled for that number 1 and number 2 spot in the CACC South Division. What's it like, having that opportunity to play just such a quality caliber team, in year in and year out, knowing that, this could be the deciding factor between who's number 1 and number 2 in the South Division?
Yeah, I mean, they're really good. I don't want to say that we get up bigger for those games, because I don't know that we do. I think we get up for everybody. I mean, I'm excited to go play Bloomfield tomorrow. Like you said, that's really where our focus is. But as a coach, I can look forward and see that, hey, we got Jefferson this weekend, and you look at what they've done this year. I mean, those guys always pitch and they always swing the bat. So, those games are fun. I mean, we played them, I think, 4 times last year, and split the 4. You go down to the end of, the rest of the way. There's a lot of good teams, that we got to play. We still got to play Dominican. We got to play Felician. We got to play Wilmington. Chestnut Hill, looks like they're pretty good this year as well. So, I like playing Jefferson. It's we get some good cheesesteaks after the game, right outside of their right outside of their field, and then we'll head back to Doyle Field on the Sunday and play them again here. I mean, those four game sets. I mean, they're by the end of that weekend, those guys pretty good, and it's like, man, I'm getting tired of having to pitch to this guy, but at the same time, they gotta do the same. So, so they're a good program, and that's just really all we're trying to do when we want to play other good programs, and then you measure yourself up against it. But where we're at right now, it's like, hey, let's go out and let's take care of business tomorrow against Bloomfield, and then once that's over with, then we'll turn the page to Jefferson, and it should be a lot of fun.
Coach, final question for me. I know that just writing a lineup card when you play so many games in a week can probably be sometimes a challenge, like at the beginning of the year, because you have so many experienced guys, seniors, players of the years, and then other guys who emerge and they hit well and they continue to hit well. And it'd be hard to say anybody's hitting well, better at least right now on your team than Bobby Stewart. I wanted to touch on him. 5 home runs in his last 5 games. He's had a run driven in 8 of his last 9. And you have him toward the bottom of your lineup hitting at second base. But man, he's really started to turn it on in such an incredible way. Just a sophomore who had 9 starts last year. But is it getting kind of difficult to leave him out of the lineup at this point with how well he's putting the ball over the yard?
Yes. I mean, the good thing I've got going for me is, like I mentioned, I'm dealing with the pitchers this year a lot. I've kind of, we've done things differently around here, and in the past, I've always kind of managed everything while having guys in charge of things. This year, I'm doing all of the pitching, and I've got Trait and Peyton doing a lot of those moves. So we should get Matt Trait on here, and you can ask him how to make the lineup, because he kind of comes in with what he wants, and I have veto power, but I don't ever really veto him. The hard part is we've got 12 or 13 guys we want to play every game. So we're trying to do the best we can to continue to keep guys healthy, keep guys involved. Sometimes it's the same thing with like on the mound. Sometimes it's like, okay, well, we need to make sure that this guy plays this weekend, so another guy does sit, because we think that we're going to need them both. But yeah, Bobby's got those same tools that we talked about with Anthony Charles, and that like Bobby's got real legit power and speed, and he's one of those guys that, we've been lucky enough to win a couple conference players of the year, but before he's out of here, that's the type of ability that he has. So whenever his name's not in the lineup, I mean, I'm like, man, because he can change a game in one swing. But that's the thing. We've got other guys. It's like the other guy that's kind of been playing, splitting time with him is a senior that's playing really well. It's like, okay, well, he's hitting 297. The other guy's hitting 299, and they're both playing good defense. And Bobby's got a little bit more power. But we are trying to find out who we are. We're definitely not who we were at the start of the year. And I hope we're not who we're going to be here in a month. We just continue to find out more about our guys, and the next guy steps up, and and as long as they're all pulling for one another and we're having a lot of fun playing baseball, that's the focus here at our school. I try not to, no doubt it's about winning games. But how do we win games? We want to go out and we want to play great baseball, and to do that, we play hard. We'd like to go out and play clean defense, be good on the bases, grind out at bats, and fill up the strike zone. But then the other two things we worry about is guys being great teammates, and then we like to let them have fun. It's like we want to have more fun than any team in the country, and we tell our guys that all the time. And it's not like we're over there throwing parades and having a circus, but like our guys, if you go to Goldey-Beacom, you love playing baseball, and that's we're gonna be loose and we're gonna have some fun.
Coach, we sincerely appreciate you for coming on and talking about the Goldey-Beacom Goldey-Beacom program. And we wish you nothing but the best of luck here going forward rest of the season. And hopefully we talk again.
Absolutely. Thanks. I love what you guys do at D2 baseball. I mean, it's, there's really good baseball played out there all over the country in Division II. And, the fact that, there's somebody there that cares about it. And, I appreciate it. Our guys appreciate it. I mean, they love to be able to, see when you guys have like a walk-off alert or this or that. They're like, look what happened. So, really appreciate what you guys do.
That means a lot coming from you, Coach. And that is Tom Riley, head coach at Goldey-Beacom.